Ladies and gentlemen,
Welcome to the TangentCast post-Comic-Con edition.
with the post represent, not necessarily the end of the event in this case, but post energy.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that going to a very busy anime game, manga thing for 3 days with loads of people and obviously having lots of good times is a bit tiring.
And also destroys your vocabulary, apparently, and ability to speak in general.
Yes, apparently so. So, forgive me if I'm not on my A game today. It's not really indicative of, getting a good night's sleep, shall we say, the entire weekend. So
3 is not enough.
Not quite that bad, but, even a few nights of just like, didn't go to bed till 2 and now we're up at 9:30, just kind of starts to weigh you down. So
Yeah, it's not like it is when you're like 14, 15.
No, like I'm 29 years old now, it's like I can't stay up like the kids do.
Fair enough.
Anyway, obviously that's how I am. I had a very good weekend, saw people and bought things, which is cool. And what about you? How have you been?
Well, handling most of the channel stuff alone, which
Yep.
I felt kind of bad because I wasn't able to message people back on Facebook, viewers. But it's like impossible to handle everything.
Well, no, considering you had like
Everything.
content to worry about. I mean, obviously I did give you some, but it's not enough for the
No,
all
plus
of it.
helping a friend out with the start of his new website, trying to play a little bit of Uncharted 4 and other games, and also my friend murdering me at the gym.
Yeah.
He was showing me like German volume training, which I haven't really done much of that.
I don't even know what that is.
Basically,
so you're one up on me.
Basically, it's compound exercises, for example, overhead press, bench press,
Right.
or what have you, but it's very little rest, like 30 seconds to a minute between sets,
Yes.
and you're doing 10 reps minimum, and it's 10 sets, and then you do other auxiliary exercises on top of that.
Oh, okay. So basically,
Rape.
punishment pie.
Yeah, so I feel a lot better today because I've eaten like a load of food.
Okay, well that's good. So obviously I didn't play anything really because I was away the whole weekend. I mean, they did have Overwatch playable at the event, and I did have a quick game, but I don't really want to spend too long on it because I do own the game and I can play it whenever I want. But I thought, I might as well because I was waiting for someone, so that's literally all I played. They did have a fair few games on show there, like they tend to. They had a Vive there, and I was tempted by that, but the queue was always monstrous, so I was just like, I didn't really come here to stand in a queue for like 2 hours, so I'll pass.
Fair enough. I haven't really played much. I've just been playing a little bit of Uncharted. I haven't really had much other time.
How's Uncharted? Still enjoying?
Yeah, I feel that the game, it has a couple of weak points here and there. But I think it's the best Uncharted so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's what
only
I've heard from a lot of people.
I would say, and this is maybe not the best, maybe it's on par with 2. Because in my opinion, it went 2, prior to release of number 4, it went 2, 1, then 3. I felt 3 had the worst. I think 1 had the better storyline than 3, but 3 had the sharper mechanics. But for me, I mostly play Uncharted for the storyline and stuff, so for me it went 2, 1, 3. Now it's either 2, 4, 1, 3, or 4, 2, 1, 4. If that, 3.
Yeah.
You get the idea.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. it went a bunch of numbers that are different. Pending now.
Yeah. Things happened.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I saw there that's worth mentioning.
Boobies? Did you see nice boobies?
Of course. It's Comic-Con.
Okay.
You can't really escape it, even if you wanted to.
I don't want to escape boobies.
Yeah, but the thing is with Comic-Con, someone will say, oh, that girl's pretty or she has nice boobs or whatever, and then they turn around and they look about 12.
Not really sure how to answer that.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of like younger people.
Wait. I'm confused.
I'm just saying, like, a lot of the time. Wait. Listen.
No. That's not.
Let me finish.
No. This is the thing that's confusing me, right?
Let me finish.
No. This is what's confusing me, right?
No.
If you answer this, then I'll let you continue.
If you let me continue, the question's going to be irrelevant.
Okay.
What I mean is, when they say, usually it'll be one of my friends who'll be like, oh yeah, they've got a really nice butt or whatever, and then everyone will look, and then they turn around, and then they're about 15. Obviously, if you're looking at the boobs, you can already probably tell, you know, that you probably should be looking at their boobs if they're underage.
Alright, I was going to say because...
Yeah, because I figured, which is what I was saying.
Yeah, because I was going to say...
You should just let me kind of, you know, course correct a little bit there and say, no, what I mean is this.
I was going to say, because if they've got boobs on their back, then really, to be honest...
They've got bigger problems. Yeah, no. But no, I mean, like...
Well, they've got great problems. It depends really on your perspective.
Yeah, true.
I mean, especially if they've got a double pair, so rear and front boobs.
Yeah.
Double the pleasure, double the fun?
No, that just sounds really inconvenient.
Not to me.
No, that sounds really inconvenient.
Well, for me, it sounds great. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway, that out of the way, let's...
Come on, Tumblr, do your job. Come on, DeviantArt.
Don't encourage them.
Why not?
Because... Anyway, with that said, let's move on.
Nothing to do here.
Swiftly to the topic.
Double boobies.
Yes. So, let's pick one. And obviously, because I was away, I've missed a lot, apparently.
You have.
So perhaps you want to fill me in on some of things.
Where to begin? I mean, there's so bloody much. I guess the first one is the GTX 1070 480 stuff. Hopefully we get to review that stuff, actually. But, I've got to say, I'm quite interested. I mean, the 1070, from what the early reviews are saying, is roughly at the performance of the 980 Ti for 350 to 400, obviously, depending on the model.
Okay, so I have one question then. If it's the same performance as a 980 Ti, why would I not just buy a 980 Ti and save money?
Because 980 Ti is more expensive. And basically this is...
Really? Even after this comes out?
Yeah, it probably will be. Plus, as well, the other benefit of the new one is it takes up less energy. More firmly efficient and overclocks like a demon. And on top of that, you get to say you've got Pascal and they're all proud.
Yeah, but my bank account doesn't really appreciate these things.
Okay, well, here's what you argue to your bank account, right?
Okay, right.
So, I understand that your bank account might be a little concerned, right? However, here's what I would suggest that you take into consideration.
Okay.
Right. Beep, 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 60 frames a second. Beep, 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 beep. Maximum 98 this thing. Beep, 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 beep.
It's a very strong argument you have there.
You know, 1440p. Beep, 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 beep. Downsampling. Beep, 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 beep.
Oh dear. So, is that it? Is that all for the 1070? That it's roughly equivalent to the Ti?
There is a whole bunch of other stuff, but I've covered it just a couple of days ago.
So, go watch that video instead.
Yeah.
Wait, no. After this video.
Yeah. And with the 480, supposedly it's between the 390X and the Nano in terms of performance. And considering the price point of this GPU is, once again, supposedly, between the 250 and 300 mark, that's US dollars.
So you could get a top-end-ish card for pretty cheap then, with this, in theory. I mean,
the incredible thing is, especially if you're one of those folks who don't have a 1440p or a 4K display. Like, let's say you want to play on a big screen, like a 50-inch TFT. You could buy like a 480X or a GTX 1070. For, let's say, between 250 to 350 US dollars, and you're good, because this thing's going to crush frame rates. I mean, we're looking at 60 FPS minimum in Doom at 1440p for the 480. And
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, they've not given the full performance. And it's just, you know, it's just amazing. So anyway, yeah, pretty insane.
That sounds pretty impressive. And before I left for London,
Yes.
Sony had said that that they have passed 40 million PlayStation 4 units sold, which I think is a worthy topic of discussing. Because just previously, they said that they were aiming for 20 million PS4 sold in the fiscal year of 2017, and obviously this doesn't really affect. Well, it probably does affect it. I'm not 100% sure how their fiscal year works. To be honest, fiscal years are just really, really confusing, to be quite frank. But even if you say that it doesn't, it's still pretty impressive that they've reached 40 million, and just kind of shows that maybe their predictions for the fiscal year aren't quite so outlandish as they might seem on the surface.
You know, and this is a very off topic.
Uh-huh.
And it's part of a bigger discussion, and something I'm actually researching and trying to do some soul searching on. But although I'm impressed by the PS4 sales figures, don't get me wrong, they're impressive. Like you can't argue against the fact they're impressive.
Yes.
Although it does somewhat concern me of the company's long-term future.
Right. How do you figure?
Well, I'm not saying that Sony are fucked. I'm not saying they're bankrupt. But long-term, Microsoft might actually come out on top.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, like, you know, we should all stop ringing the death tolls, because we've seen this before where one console is in the lead for years and then...
I don't even mean that.
What do you mean then?
What I'm saying is, because now they want to switch to iterative hardware...
In theory.
It's pretty confirmed. Like, all developers have basically said it's
happening.
happening.
I know, but let's just...
Basically, if everyone tells me that something's happening, and there's also a lot of leaks...
I'm not saying it's not happening, I'm just saying we need to say allegedly, because they haven't confirmed it.
Well, either way. So, iterative hardware is coming. Smartphone-based models, basically, where you're going to get the S5, you're going to get the S6, S7, and so on. Now, how often that hardware is released is up to you. We'll go more into that in a second when we talk about Scorpio. But the problem is, I wonder how well Sony are going to flourish in that market long term. The thing about Microsoft is, you've got the major benefit of the Windows ecosystem. So what I do wonder is with Sony, yes, they've got really impressive hardware, but if consoles start to become almost outdated because of the speed of the hardware updates.
Yeah.
I wonder how, because I've had quite a few people message me on Facebook. In fact, you haven't checked the messages, but you should read some of them. And a lot of them are saying, I want the Neo cancelled because people they don't want to keep coughing up the money. So I do wonder if iterative hardware, and the fact of the matter...
Yeah, but how is this just a Sony thing? This is just a thing. If both companies are doing it, I don't understand how Microsoft would be magically exempt just because of the Windows ecosystem.
Well, the reason I think that Sony might fare slightly worse than Microsoft is one reason.
Okay.
Because in that respect, Microsoft doesn't give a shit if you buy on the PC. They don't care if you buy on the Xbox, and it's all pretty good for them. The company which might end up benefiting the most, depending on a lot of factors, could be Steam, because of PC, and a lot of Steam machines. But to be honest, Steam machines have been rather disappointing at the moment. And Nintendo, but that would also make Nintendo not have to keep stabbing itself. I mean, the fact that Nintendo keeps fucking itself over constantly, it's going to be a really weird situation. And I'm not saying Sony are doomed. I'm not saying that they won't come out on top, because I don't know. But I'm just saying that 40 million now, the situation could really quickly change when the Neo comes out and the Xbox Scorpio and the NX.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, I'm not really sure how the console space is going to handle a sort of smartphone model. I mean, obviously that model works because it's already working for Apple and Samsung and HTC and everybody ever in that space. But I don't know if it's going to transfer to a console because, yeah, it's very expensive to buy the latest iPhone or the latest Samsung S whatever. However, as we all know, you have the option with a phone to get it on a contract where you just pay like I don't know, 25, 30 quid a month, depending on whatever plan it is that you have, which obviously is a lot more manageable than, hey, give us £600-700 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, consoles,
So,
obviously, they've also got the maximum pricing that they can go for.
Yeah, I mean, with consoles, it's a bit of a harder sell to say, hey, look, give us £400 every 2 years, let's say.
And you know the other issue
And
with
there's
that,
not going to be a contract option, or maybe there will be. Maybe they've kind of thought about this, looked at how smartphones have done things, and realised that, hey, one of the reasons this works is you have that payment plan model, I guess.
I think the thing is, I mean, let's roll on to the second point that we're going to talk about. That's Xbox Scorpio. Supposedly, Neo's going to be released this year, right? Late this year.
Yeah.
Allegedly, the Scorpio is going to be released 2017 or
Yeah.
announced. I've heard the dates for announcement are anything from E3 this year to some point early 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter when it's announced. Let's assume it's released, let's say mid 2017. So let's say, for all intents and purposes, there's a rough 9 to 12 month gap between the two systems. Supposedly, the gap on terms of performance, the PS4 puts out about 1.840 flops.
Mm-hmm.
The Xbox One puts out about 1.32. The Neo puts out about 4.1 to 4.2, depending whom you ask, about the clock speeds. And the Scorpio puts out about 6. They said it's 6, but it could be more.
Right.
So that basically means that there's quite a gap between the PS4 Neo and the Scorpio. Now that's really impressive because supposedly, if you bought a Rift, an Oculus Rift, you can plug it into Scorpio and it will work. And
According to these rumours.
yeah, and apparently they've already 2 or 3 developers have gone on record, but behind the scenes, so they won't. The press won't reveal their names.
Uh-huh.
But they've basically said that they are working on virtual reality games on the Xbox One.
Interesting, because I mean they obviously aren't doing their own headset. They've said as much. They're going to be doing the HoloLens instead. So obviously a nice way to kind of get around that would be to work with Oculus, which obviously they already have, given that obviously the Rift as vanilla comes with the Xbox One controller.
Yeah, and supposedly that's one of the reasons they did it.
Yeah, so they thought, okay, we've already got a relationship with Oculus and decided that maybe, hey, would you like to perhaps work on getting it on Xbox One? And obviously, they get some sort of cut or something probably. So that could be an interesting thing.
You know what it is?
But
the reason they're going to do that is probably because of TMA, total available market. Because for Oculus, they don't need a kickback. All they need to do is think of it.
Well, the details aren't relevant. They could be, they could not be. I don't know. They could be getting like a bag of peas for all I know. All I'm saying is, they've obviously got a relationship with Microsoft, and Microsoft decided to make use of it. My only thing is so the Scorpio in theory then is going to be equivalent to a pretty beefy PC given the specs of the Oculus.
Oh, and that's the point. Because now, if you look at Polaris 10, it depends on the version of Polaris 10, but it's going to be about between 6 to 80 flops, and that's a fairly mid-range system, and that's going to be released now. Next year, you're probably going to get a mid-range GPU that's about 10 flops. So my point being with all of this, from what the rumours are, and from what has been leaked, Microsoft are going to be aiming the Scorpio at the low-end PC crowd.
Okay, so how's it going to run Oculus then?
Because 60 flops is still enough to run Oculus at lower details.
Okay.
So what they're basically saying is PC is going to be swallowing up the mid to high range specs, and there's going to be no exclusives on Xbox ever.
The new one, you mean?
Yeah, no, just they apparently even Gears of War, Scalebound, all of them are coming to PC Windows 10. Everything.
Okay, alright, well, we'll have to wait and see on that one. I mean, if those things are happening, it will probably be E3 or Gamescom that we get the reveal of some of them. Not all of them, because Scalebound and
because
Recore are not even out till next year.
The new Forge with the new Halo.
Yeah.
And the fact that what's that name? Fable Legends was coming to PC.
Yeah.
That apparently is the start of it, and it's Project Helix. Basically, what they want to do is amalgamate the platforms to the point where there's no difference. So, it's in short, if you're developing a game for the Xbox, you're developing a game for the PC. And they're also going to bring, once again, supposedly, a Xbox interface for the PC as well. So if, for example, you're a gamer, right, and all you want is a very high-end Xbox, essentially, you can basically boot Windows into this mode.
And so it's kind of like
it's kind of like big picture
mode. Okay.
Yeah, so basically it takes care of most of it for you. Now, if that's done well, and it will essentially set up the settings for you, they fix the big problems with UWP and all this other shit, which they might do. It's gonna crush a lot of people out of the market.
Yeah. Well, it certainly sounds interesting, to be sure, and if it's indeed coming out next year, I'll be surprised if we don't see a reveal at either E3 or Gamescom.
Yeah, so. I don't think it will happen. Although what they also are saying is there's going to be a slimline Xbox released soon, and that's going to have a 2 terabyte hard drive. I think it's either 1 or 2. I think it's 2 terabyte.
I'm fairly certain there's already a 1 terabyte available.
Yes, it's going to have a 2 terabyte.
Having a 1 terabyte again isn't really that impressive.
And apparently there's going to be a 40 to 50% reduction in size of the Xbox.
Well, that could be cool, because both the PS4 and Xbox One are a bit bulky.
I don't think the PS4 is too bad.
PS4 is not as bad, but it still takes up a lot of room. But regardless of that, next thing is an interesting thing that happened with Nintendo. If I can just quickly...
What, have they decided to give up console development and release games for others?
There was basically a rumour that they're working on a handheld console, just nicknamed MH.
Well, the mobile software's doing really well, so why would they bother? Oh, wait, never mind.
However, despite these rumours, basically... an investment firm came out of the woodwork and said, hey, this is just speculative. They're talking about like what they could do kind of thing. Don't read too much into it. But, you know, it's just an investment firm kind of commenting on it saying, hey, this is probably just speculative. Don't read too much into it. And yeah, we could. Or we could say, hey, maybe this is actually a thing. Could be related to the NX or not. You know, we just don't know. I mean, another handheld probably wouldn't go amiss. I did kind of wonder if it was perhaps a bit too soon after the new 3DS, but they have done this before. They've like brought out a sort of final version of their previous thing.
I know, look at the bloody Game Boy.
And then brought out the next thing like fairly soon after it in like release time terms.
Yeah. They're like
so they wouldn't be the first time.
They love double dipping.
Yeah, like they've done it before with the DSi, I believe.
And the Game Boy.
Well, yeah.
Do you remember the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Pocket, the Game Boy Advance,
Game Boy? No, I don't mean that. They've done that a million times of one. But what I mean is release the final version and then like not that long after release the new thing.
Yeah, but that's what I mean with the Game Boys.
Yeah. So then it's before with the DSi and stuff. So it wouldn't actually be out of character for Nintendo to do that. So we'll have to see. And I guess we should start wrapping things up. So is what you want to talk about Zen, I believe, today.
Yeah. So a couple of little tidbits with Zen. From what we understand, there have been some PR statements and also obviously investor conferences.
Yeah.
And basically during investor conferences, obviously the companies need to divulge to investors what they're doing. So investors can say, okay, thanks for using my money wisely, basically. From what we understand, they've basically gone on record, AMD, and said that the performance of Zen is going to be not just competitive price-wise to Intel, but is going to equal the performance of... so it's supposed to be as competitive to Intel in terms of pricing and performance, and according to some slides that were leaked by accident, well, not by accident, but basically they would have probably preferred the media hadn't got a hold of them.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
They're aimed really at investors, but the media got hold of them, including me.
Yep.
Basically, you know the 8350 lineup of CPUs?
Yeah.
Supposedly, AMD are claiming that the same clock speed for single core Zen is going to be twice the speed.
Right.
Which is insane. And from what we can gather, that's going to mean that the high-end Zens, which by the way, Zen is going to be aimed at 8 cores with 2 threads each, so 16 threads, which is the same as the 5000 series, a lot of the 5000 series from Intel.
Right. Okay.
It's going to be pretty darn impressive, and if they manage to achieve this at a decent clock speeds,
yeah,
at a decent price,
yeah,
it's going to be really fucking hard for me to not sound biased and to recommend like 90% of people to buy Zen over Skylake or Kaby Lake, because it's going to really mean that unless you need a fuck ton of threads,
yeah,
which obviously the new Broadwell E's are going to have, it's going to be like really difficult. Let's say you're a gamer, Skylake is good with 4 cores, 2 threads, but you know, Zen's going to have more, which means you're more future-proof. And then you've got, let's say you're a multimedia designer, you've got more cores, which obviously is good. So even if, for example, AMD turn out to be 5% lower in performance per 1 core,
right,
you've got more cores to work with. So it's
okay,
going to be nuts.
Interesting.
Anyway, I think that's about...
There's one thing I quickly want to mention that I did want to mention when we were talking about the PlayStation 4 earlier, but you went off on a massive tangent, so I didn't catch you.
I didn't. You say tangent, I say information.
Yeah. Well, basically, there was a rumour started by someone who I can't remember, to be honest, basically claiming that the only reason the PlayStation 4 Neo exists, or the main reason it exists, should I say, is due to the fact that the vanilla PS4 cannot run the PlayStation VR properly. Yeah, if you let me finish my sentence, I'll get to that.
Alright.
Yeah, so someone started this rumour that the vanilla PS4 just had terrible performance.
I think it was in Edge as well.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly who started the rumour, to be honest.
Edge.
But basically, a load of developers spoke up who had actually, like, you know, worked on PlayStation VR games or had some inside knowledge or whatever, and basically said, yeah, this is a load of crap. And you know, I'm sure the Neo is going to give better performance, because of course it is, if the specs are what we think they are. But the vanilla PS4 is fine with PlayStation VR.
My issue is though with that. What's fine and what games are they working on and what are they targeting? For example, let's say I'm making Doom 1 for virtual reality. Then yeah, I don't need that.
Well, no, I can't remember the developer's name off the top of my head, because obviously this was a while ago now. But he basically said on their game they were getting pretty comfortable 90 frames per second on PlayStation VR.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, that same chap was also creating something that was highly complex.
Honestly, I can't recall off the top of my head who it was, but basically all the developers who are all working on various different projects of different scale, graphics, blah, 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 all basically said that the PlayStation 4 can hit the recommended frame rates.
Yeah, but even Sony themselves have admitted that you're going to have to turn down the graphics.
Well, yeah, no, and that's fine. I'm sure many people are fully expecting to have to do that. I don't think anyone's going to be reasonably expecting the PlayStation 4 to run like the latest games, like with super shiny, gets like 60 to 90 and all that on VR. Like, that's not a reasonable expectation with the specs of the PlayStation 4. But
hey,
the rumor basically claims that, hey, it's really shoddy performance and stuff, and it just turns out that's not really true.
Well, to be fair, we don't really expect the PlayStation 4 to be able to hit like 900p at 30 at this point, so let alone anything else.
Yeah.
Hey, Uncharted mostly manages it.
Well.
Yeah, of course, it blurs half the screen away, but this.
Fun times.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I believe that's everything that
I think we've insulted about everyone.
Yeah. You know, just check. Check.
We've insulted Microsoft. We've insulted Sony.
Check. Yeah.
Insulted Valve.
Check.
Definitely have to insult Valve a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's everything. So I think I'm going to end this video with the quote of the weekend, which some randomer said to a friend of mine, in which they basically said, "Don't let your memes become dreams." That's actually quite... It's like... okay. So, any closing comments in response? Or are you just going to stare at me? He's just staring at me, which is summarily unhelpful, considering they can't see that, or they can't, hear that either.
Okay, I'll vocalise my disappointment by just saying pretty much.
I didn't say it. I'm just repeating it.
Repeated words that still have meaning, Amy.
Anyway, that's us done. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.